Hello, welcome to our video. In this particular video, we'll be looking at variables. We'll be looking at variables. What are JavaScript variables? Variables are like containers. And how do we create or define a variable? We can say var is a, let's give the name number. You can call it whatsoever you want, though we are going to see the rules of naming our variables too. So let's just call it number. Then we use one equality sign, not double, not triple. And here we call this assignment operator. In this case, we call this assignment operator. Alright, so I can give this 4. So that means in a variable called number, I've assigned a value called 4. Then I actually want to write another variable. If I hit enter, it will just execute it. Says undefined. So how can I enter a new line on the console without actually executing it? So I'll press shift and hold, then enter. Okay, you can actually try that and see what you have. Yes, you got it. Alright, let's proceed. So I will now say var as variable. Let me call this one value, and then equals it to 2. Shift enter so that I can have a new line. Then I want to add the 4 plus 2. Since they are in a variable or a container called number and value, I can easily say number plus value. Then hit enter. You find out that we have 6. Okay. Alright, there is another operator I want to show you guys briefly before we proceed. It is called modulus, and we use the percentage sign. Let's say, for example, I say 12 modulus 4. Find out that it is 0. What does this mean? Why did it give us 0? Modulus checks for the remainder. So if you divide 12 by 4, what's the remainder? It says 0. That 0 is the remainder. So let's say we do the same 12 and then modulus. That's 12 divided by 5. How many remainder? It will be 2. 12 divided by 5 has remainder 2. So that was just by the way. Alright, let's continue playing around with our variables. Apart from storing numbers, can we also store things like text, that's a string? Of course, the answer is yes. Let's get right into it. Let's say I have a variable story equals to, and now let's say I have this wonderful write-up that says my name is maybe Dan. I love coding. How about you? Okay, let's say we have this how about you? I have to correct that, sorry. How about you? Okay, let's say we have this story and you want to keep on reusing it. How can you do that? So we have already given it a variable. So once I say story, I'm calling it out. You see the story comes up. Alright, let's go a little bit further. Please pay attention at this point. Now let's say Dan is 4 years old. Dan is 4 years old. So I want to say my name is Dan. I love coding. How about it? Then I want to write I am 4 years old. But instead of putting 4, I want to now, since 4 is in a container, I'll now put that container in my story. And then we'll also save the name Dan to another container. Let's call it variable name equals to what? Dan is a string. That's why I'm wrapping it in a quotation. Alright, so now let's build our story again. So maybe let me call this story 2. Story 2. Then with this equality sign, I begin my story. Hello world. My name is. Now I don't want to use Dan. Rather, let's say for example, I want to keep on making use of that name Dan. I don't want to be typing it from time to time. How do I make use of that variable? From what we have learned so far, we can actually do a little concatenation. So here I will say name. Let me keep a space here. Name plus sign again, and then continue my story. That's hello world. My name is name. Whatsoever that is here, put it there. Alright. You can say I am, let's say we want to say 4 years old, so I concatenate again. Then the 4 is in a variable called number, so I'll say I am number. This can be a bit overwhelming, but please follow step by step. 4, then you can add years old. I love coding. Now let's display our story 2 and see what we have. So you see it says hello world. My name is Dan. The name assigned to that variable was Dan. That's why I said my name is Dan. I am 4 years old. So we have a number here. You understand? That number was assigned the variable 4. Look at it up here. Alright. So now says I love coding. So that's basically how you can play around with your variables. Now let's look at the rules of declaring variables, because you don't just wake up to define a variable just like that. You might end up having an issue. The first rule is that a variable name should not start with a number. If you notice in our previous video, we did something like 2 equals to 2 and we had an error. So you are saying the variable 2 equals to a number 2. Since the variable name starts with a number, it says error. Okay, so your variable should not start with a number. Your variable should not start with a symbol like @ the $sign, the £sign, and the rest of the symbols. Okay, your variable should not start with them, but your variable can end with a number. We saw that here when we had the variable name story 2. And also your variable name can end with a symbol if you so wish. Okay, then what if your variable has like 2 words? For example, you want to write something like first name. Now you say variable first. If you keep space name, you say maybe Sam. You have an issue. So you find out that you cannot keep space while declaring variables with 2 words. Then the question now is, how can I overcome this kind of challenge? you can actually, some people can actually use them. They can use underscore first, then underscore name, then equals to Sam. This will work. So you can see we now have first, let's call that out, first underscore name. You see we have Sam. But we can actually use series of cases. One of the techniques is that we say variable. Okay, in this case I will be using last name. Let me not use first name again. In this case, the camel case, the first letter will be small, but the other words you'll be joining will be carrying a capital letter. Let's say, for example, last, then name. This is how we write it. So somebody reading through your code knows that, oh, this is more than one word, and this person intends to make a variable out of that using more than one word. So we can now say equals to maybe something like nat. So let's see what we have. So when once we say last, you see it has already been saved. Then we have our nat working perfectly well. All right, another thing I would like to show you guys as far as this particular video is concerned is the prompt statement. For the prompt actually helps us have some sort of a pop-up while building our project. Let's say, for example, we wanted to have something like we have a variable that says maybe, what do we call this? Let's call this maybe email, and then we want to interact with our user. So we can now use the prompt, and then ask the person what is your, or maybe enter your email. Please enter your email. So once I hit enter, you see we have this page says please enter your email. So somebody can actually type in whatsoever they want to type inside, and then either cancel or click on OK. All right, another thing I would like to show us is the alert, because we are going to combine everything we have learned now to build a very simple project. We can actually do something like the alert. Unlike the prompt that enables a user to interact with our site, alert just display some sort of information. So you can say hello. So you see, this one does not provide a space for us to type inside, but rather displays whatsoever we want it to display for us. Okay, now let's combine everything we have learned so far to build a small project. Okay, all right. Now let's build a small calculator that accepts two numbers and then print out their result. All right, so for example, we can have something variable, maybe let's just call it value1 being equal to a prompt statement. The prompt statement now asks the user, says enter your verse value. Okay, then shift and enter so that we can have value 2, variable value 2 equals to prompt okay, enter your second value. Okay, all right. Then after that, let's have some sort of results. Let's call it results. Now the results will now be, I will try to multiply value 1 and value 2. So I will say results equals to value 1 times value 2. Value 2. Okay, let's just do addition for now, so that I can use that to explain a possible error I can see coming in the future. Alright, so I can now say maybe alert results. From the alert we have learned now, now say alert results. So you see the result I'm typing it is not a variable, so in your own case please don't add quotation mark. Okay, alright, let's see how our calculator works. It says enter your best value, so I can do 3. I'll press OK. It says enter your second value, I say 4, and then OK. It gives us 34, whereas 3 plus 4 is what? 7. That was the error I saw coming, and I said okay, let me do this, use it this way first before we can actually proceed to using other things. Now the way out, I can just press the up arrow key for it to come out. Now check this value 1, it's expecting a string because we are typing a string in here. This one is also expecting a string. So how can we convert it now from a string to a number? So what we are having is more or less of a string concatenation. Yes, I believe you can recall now. So what we had there was more or less of a string concatenation, 3 concatenate 4. So we can say number, please the number start with capital letter, then wrap each of them in a number. So this is how we do it. So I'll convert it now to what? An integer number. Okay, all right, let's try it again, guys. Hit enter. 3. I say okay, says enter the second one, 4. Say okay. So you now see we have 7. We now have what? 7. So you can actually try this out on your own as your task for the day. But before we go, let me show you guys something. All right, let's say I have a variable called x equals to 5. Then I now, when I say x, you find out that x will be 5. What if I have another variable with the name x now equals to 3? What will now be the value of x? Think about that for a while. So when I say now x, find out that x is 3. What happens here is what we call variable reassignment. Do not forget I call this the assignment operator. So initially you assign 5 to the variable x, and later on you now reassign it to what? 3. So thank you very much for staying this long for this particular video. I want to see your code on the community. Please try and post your code displaying how you made use of the alert, the result, and the prompt statement. And after that, you are to build a project. Your project is that we have 2 values like this one. You enter the first value, you enter the second value, and then there should be a result. But in your result, I want to see you make use of the modulus, that's the remainder, that percentage sign, such that it should alert the remainder of your division. We actually did that here. In case you have forgotten, you can check through the video. So you see it here, 12 modulus 4 giving us 0. Thank you very much, as I wait to see you send your snapshot of your project to the group chat, as well as how it is working. Bye bye for now.